I really do hate doing these things. I have no sort of output from it on my wonderful ideas. So yeah, what's up? Yeah, racism, and slavery. You think of like slaves, don't you? You think of like black people, just slaves. Black people in chains, black people in chain gangs, and they're tearing down some Washington, a place where George Washington lived and had slaves, servants he trusted, and would have around his person, trust with his bread and soup. Um, and again, I was like, just fucking forget about this. I come from Ireland, right? And we got this lots of crappy, no history whatsoever in this country. So it's all very magnetized. Oh, it'll be 100 years till we all forget about it. And it has been 100 years, and they're still banging the drums and going on about it. It doesn't go anywhere. It just makes shit worse. It just holds on to these differences and ties from 100 years ago. So we'll never forget about the troubles who gave us. And it's like, yeah, but it weren't me, or they're my great great granddad, and they're your great great granddad, and we're not living in those times anymore. It's like, oh, well, if you forget history, then you'll succumb to be a victim of history again. Yeah, well, I studied the Bible loads, which is a history of the covenant of God, and man, I can tell you loads of shit that's in the Bible that would be much better off being forgotten about and not even known about. Because you get Vanderbergs and Rockefellers to go out and recreate it and reproduce it and reenact this stuff. And it's heavily profane. It's the worst things you could do. And they go out and do the worst things that they could do. Because when you really cut God off from you kind of become God in yourself. And that's why this Rockefeller, Epstein was like, well, when you think about Rockefeller, you just think about brilliance and genius. No, you don't. You think about fucking cattle killing degenerate, kitty cooking, monstrous fucking degenerates that have godly powers because they're so cut off from God they become God in themselves. Some people get addicted to murder. People only have a certain amount of time, but they're constantly killing, constantly murdering, constantly. So they get cut off from God. I think Epstein was just a chef. I think Epstein was the chef who prepared the kids. So, like I said, fruit souffle, yeah, roasted, slow roasted. I think he was just a trusted chef. Anyway, doesn't strike me as a pederast. Well, that is harassing. So, yeah, it said in the Bible that King David was skipping through the fields. I'm fairly certain it was King David. It might have been someone way older, Moab or something. Nob, no Nob. But he's skipping through the fields. He was the young little King David of the world, and he knew about bar mitzvahs and celebrations when you kill the fattest pig and you sit around with your family and you have a make a big occasion out of something. And he could smell what he thought was a big fat pig. Turns out it was just some fucking psychopathic cannibal off up in the mountains cooking kids that he was robbing. So he was stealing kids or finding kids and luring them off and just killing them and cooking them for food. Yeah, this is a handy gig surviving off in the desert. Just keep kidnapping kids. King David smelt this and kind of gave it approval. It's like, oh, nice, that's a nice thing. Some people are doing something nice. He didn't know that it was what was actually happening. And because King David wasn't noticed, gave this approval, people still exploit this approval of kidnapping somebody else's children, cooking them, and eating them. That's probably better off forgotten. That's probably better off forgotten. I'm saying about this George Washington house when he had slaves. Like, yeah, you're saying it like, like the president keeps lots. And there's just the punchline I actually just want to get to about slavery. Everyone gets much. It was England and France. England and France were the big powers that brought over slaves. The French would have brought their African slaves that Hitler mocked them about later, and the UK would have brought off loads of Irish slaves. So this is where you get blacks, dogs, and Irish. So this is about all you black communities out there that's saying like loads of like slavery. And it was our black people, our people were oppressed. There's loads of white slavery. There's loads of any prisoner. We get rid of all the prisoners in our prisons here. We'll send them off to Australia. We'll send them off to America. And we'll put them to work on the railroad tracks and building the towns. And it was slavery. So it's not about blacks being slaves. And you're like, oh, and our people. You're from all over Africa. And a side note, I'd like to say, okay, about America. Ireland and England, as I said, didn't really have like many African slaves. Quick, quit acting niggerish. Oh, come on, quit acting niggerish. You're in America now. Quit acting like you're still living in Nigeria. where everybody owns everything. Um, and you're like, stop acting white, and you're just like, go and borrow your shoes. No, get away from my shoes. You get no. That's pure acting whitish or something. In Nigeria, like, yeah, have my shoes. I don't care. And this one I say on the weird topic of America, Donald Trump kicking out all the people that are Africans. America have this really nice ethos that I don't see in Ireland or Wales or Scotland or England. Everybody coming together and do the communal effort. Like somebody's person's parents just passed away, and they all come together and they do this really heartwarming communal efforts you only see really in America. And we all pitch together and we all build them a barn. And that's pure niggerish. Now that's where that comes from. That's being pure African. Everybody pitch together and everybody come together. That's being pure niggerish right there. Pure Nigerian. Everybody come together and everybody. So it takes a time. But it's saying, like, in your white ass country, you call it, like, America's a white country. In other white countries, they're not that nice. That's what I'm saying. This is a massive difference that I've noticed. And it is from all of the Nigerians and people that came to your country and brought their mentality and diversity of a communal survival. Takes it down. Takes it. So, yeah, no, pure niggers. Yeah, well, we don't act pure niggers because we don't have as many African French slaves that were sent here as you do have African French slaves, or German French slaves, or Dutch French slaves, or Dutch African slaves, or Irish slaves. So, yeah, white slavery. Now, you think it's creepy, okay? You want people to remember George Washington probably had. I don't say black. I can get over this as well. You don't say a black man. You know what it says? It's actually funny. You know, it's hilarious. You say a black man these days. Black man. You say white boy. That got turned around 180, didn't it? What you saying, boy? Talking to a real man. But now it's like black man and white boy. Oh, he's a white boy. I can tell he's a white boy. What you saying, boy? Chuck Berry like that. What you saying, boy? Yeah, so if you're concerned and want to remember times when presidents were maybe enslaving or utilizing young people of African descent. No, you don't say black. You say, I've said this before. It's a long story. We had a centre for autistic children in my primary school, which I was heavily involved in as a kid. I got to work with the buddy system, so I was always hanging out with kids with extreme disabilities or diverse conditions, which is great as a kid learning these things. And we got a plaque from Michal Martin, who was the Minister for Education at the time, saying, well done on this initiative, it worked out great, as one of the first in the country, a centre for autistic children. And one of the teachers, probably a lady teacher, sent it back saying, you can't say autistic children. Like, you put the person before the pronoun, so it's a centre for children with autism. A centre for children. So you don't say a black man, you say a man who happens to have dark skin, or a man who happens to be black. Why did you mention that he so happens to be black? It's fairly arbitrary. But no, in that instance, racism becomes arbitrary. In that very instance, a man who so happens to be black. Like, well, why did you mention that? Exactly. Why did you mention that first? Oh, he's a black man. That's okay. No, he's a black man. He's a man who so happens to be black. I don't care. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, you want to remember the times when the President of America had little girls of dark, I used to call it dark golden or equatorial people as slaves. I don't know. Do you want to remember the shame or the guilt, or do you want to claim to fame? Because as far as I understand nowadays, they all little white girls. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned nowadays, like your presidents and your politicians and all, they don't want the kids from Haiti or Jamaica anymore. You know, they were easy back in the day. Or Sierra Leone. You know, first make the country war-torn and then steal all their kids and firstborn men. Or the girls and firstborn. But this is let you know, yeah. When you consider whatever Epstein and all, I doubt they liked equatorial girls too much. So I don't know what it sounds like about black slavery and black exploit. They all white girls these days. You know, they all little tiny little chicken legs. Little tiny white chicken. Just saying, you know, about slavery and presidents and abuse or exploited people. And a lot of Irish, we had these things called the Magdalene laundries, where like a priest would impregnate a girl, call her a disgrace, put her to work in a laundry, and take her baby away and send it to America to be a child prostitute or whatever, a little. So I'm just saying, as far as the slavery, I'm just saying, it's like I'm enslaved. Like I live in spiritual bondage by a white man from Florida. I live in open air spiritual bondage, just like in the Bible. Open air spirit. I'm totally enslaved. I get punished for thinking out loud. I get punished for, I don't know. I get punished for waking up and having a thought. I'm a white boy. I'm the whitest. I'm so white. It's unreal. I'm so white. But, yeah, I'm a slave. And when Bob Dylan says you got a slave, everybody's a slave. Um, all of America are under duress. All your politicians, Rubio, Marco Rubio, he's probably a slave. They have him in so tight he has to do his job. He's enslaved. They're all enslaved to one another. Everybody's enslaved. So this isn't about being black, being a slave, and it's the way they treated our people. Our people. You're from all over the place. You're from Haiti, Jamaica, Africa, Sierra Leone, Mexico, Puerto Rico. You're from black people, equatorial people. And you're from all over. Kenya. Our people. What are our people? Our people. And they're all mixed up now, Puerto Rican, African, Cuban, Mexican, and they're still going on about being some fucking group about being black. Anyway, you weren't the only slaves in the world, I'm just saying. And as far as the memories are concerned, anything that maintains dichotomy in present day society ought to be gently forgotten. I'm gonna do a little ceremony, go out to the frickin' beach, put little candles in boats, and let it sail away. It's something that happened, like 400 or 500 years ago, of some man setting up and having little equatorial boys and girls carry his baggage upstairs. Because he couldn't trust the white man. He couldn't trust the white man with the soup. The white man would kill you. Mm-hmm. You trust the equatorial people with the soup. They wouldn't dare poison me. So I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, it's a nice way to get around to say equatorial or tropical or outer tropics, white. Yeah. Stop complaining, thinking that you're like persecuted. Well, yeah, Africa, to be honest, was enslaved by all of Europe. I think it's only Ethiopia, and it's not Sierra Leone. Ethiopia and another are the only countries that aren't gentrified by Europe. It's all German, France, Dutch, German, France, Dutch, German, French, Dutch, German, French, Dutch, German, French, Dutch. So these are the people that were sending slaves from Africa to America to build America. But they weren't just sending, African slaves. There's an abundance of them to send, I suppose. But there were lots of slaves, different people. Not as many as there probably were black, because there's a lot of people in Africa. And, yeah. Stop taking pure niggers. Anyway. Didn't seem like the artwork was actually government fucking suited artwork. It just seemed someone like put graffiti all over George Washington's house and calling him a racist. I doubt it was. I'd say he wanted loads of these over there. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say he wasn't against it. I was like, yeah, we need more of these. Anyway, act more niggers. Yeah, motherfuckers.